SUV thinking, I couldn't even think of who I needed to call. I couldn't think of calling my other children. I couldn't think of calling my mother. I couldn't think of calling Brandon's father. I mean, my mind was just this blank slate because all I could think about was my son was injured and it's bad enough that the police department came and picked me up. So we got to the hospital, and about 45 minutes after I arrived, Brandon died in surgery. That evening, a repeat illegal alien criminal had been drinking all day, was doing meth, and he decided to drive the wrong way on 4 different freeways here in Phoenix before slamming head-on into my son on his way home from work. The illegal was killed in the accident. I am one of the lucky angel families, angel moms, because I haven't had to deal with a trial, and I haven't had to deal with the fact that there hasn't been justice for my son's death in our country. So many angel families are still awaiting justice. Their loved one's killer is still on the run. We have a justice system that protects them. I'm sure you all heard about Pierce Corcoran, who was killed in December this last year in Tennessee. Believe it or not, they were so quick to deport this man to Mexico. And just last week, the case was heard before a judge in Tennessee, and they decided that a trial was necessary for this man. Yet they had already deported him to Mexico. So this family's not going to see justice. The only thing that's happened is there is a warrant out for the killer's arrest if he shows back up in the United States, which he will, but he'll have a new identity. He will live a whole nother life and will probably commit another crime against another innocent American. So, back up to about 3 months after my son was killed, I started getting contacted by some other families that had been affected by illegal alien crime, and I decided that I need to join them. Probably prior to that is when I wrote the 2 letters to President Obama at the time, asking him why this illegal alien criminal was allowed to stay in our country. He had been convicted of crimes in Colorado. He never showed up for his court date. He was on the run for about 10 years. They caught him coming back over the border in 2002. They took him back up to Adams County, Colorado to face the charges and the fact that he had never shown up for court. And the judge in Adams County, Colorado gave him a slap on the wrist and said, have a nice life in the United States. So that enabled him to be here and kill my son. And I want to talk about judges in a little bit and how important it is that we all educate ourselves on judges because they can affect your life tomorrow. But so I started meeting more and more angel families who were affected, and I thought, you know what, I need to join this movement. I need to I need to be my son's voice, because I know my son would have done this for me had I been the one killed in this accident. That's just the kind of man that he was and the way that he stood up for people. Last September, Michelle Root, who is another angel mom in Omaha, her daughter Sarah Root was killed in Omaha. Steve Ronnebeck, who's here, families who have the fight in them, we came together and formed angel families. And we have an angel family coalition. We have been given a huge platform by our president when he started introducing us in the 2016 campaign and had us on the campaign trail with him, and actually made people aware of the fact that we exist and what we're dealing with and how often it's happening to innocent Americans in our country. We cannot waste this platform we've been given, and so the Angel Families Coalition is working very hard behind the scenes. We're not about going into a politician's office and screaming and yelling because it gets you nowhere. We're not about standing on a street corner, starting a fight with protesters because it gets you nowhere. I've really kind of backed off from Fox News because it really gets me nowhere. I get to get on TV and tell the story, but what has it accomplished? People say, oh, and then they go on to get dinner fix and live their life. So we've got to do something to make a change in this country. So here's a few things that Angel Families is working on. Steve and I have worked on a hashtag Blood on Your Hands campaign, which we've got some billboards up in Amarillo, Texas with Brandon's picture on it and a separate one with Grant's picture on it, saying Brandon was killed by a repeat illegal alien criminal, Grant was killed by a dreamer. Our politicians have hashtag blood on their hands. We want everybody in this country to realize every politician who's not doing anything about stopping this invasion of our country and allowing these illegal alien criminals to be here killing innocent Americans have blood on their hands. They're stepping over my dead son's body every time they do something to protect an illegal alien criminal in our country. Angel Families is also working to get remittance tax passed in every state. And what this is, the only state that's doing it right now is Oklahoma. In 2015, they collected over $11 million with a 1% remittance tax going on any of the money that the illegal families, the illegals in our country, send back to their families in their home countries. A lot of that remittance money is going to the cartel to pay for their trip here. So we want to start hitting them where it hurts, because we've had some illegal aliens have conversations with an angel down in Georgia saying, yeah, you guys think we're just sending the money home to take care of grandma, but what we're really doing with the money we're sending home, our relatives are buying farms and auto shops and service stations, and we're setting ourselves up for a great life. And that's where they're going to go, as they're stoking the economies down in these countries after they've made our country, excuse my language, a shithole. This is what they're doing. This is what the plan is for them, and we have got to start hitting them where it hurts. Mesa Unified School District next year is going to be $23 million in the hole. And it's mainly because of the illegal alien children who are in our school system, who we've got to cater to teach them English and to have the extra teachers there to accommodate them. They need to start paying for this, and they need to start paying 1% out of their money that they're sending back to their families, because a lot of it's tax-free. We need to start capitalizing on this. And when I go to the legislators in Phoenix to present this, we have to talk about a shortfall that our state or our county has, so that it would be pretty difficult for Democrats or Republicans alike down at our Capitol to say no to a remittance tax, when this is going to be shoring up some of the shortages we do have in our state funding. And I'm working with several patriots and angel families across the country. I think I have about 22 states right now covered, where they're going to take the lead and take this verbiage to the legislators and start getting this passed across the country. Of course, we won't get it in California and Oregon and New Jersey and Washington, because they're all sanctuary states, but we're going to try. The last thing that we are going to start working on is angel families, and then we've got some patriots that are going to help us. We're going to take 2 states each. We're going to start researching the 4 largest counties in those states, and we're going to start researching the judges in those 4 large counties. Because if we don't start making sure that we know what these judges on the bench are doing, so many of them are not, making sure that the law is followed and people are punished according to breaking our laws. They are interpreting our laws to fit the scenario that's in front of them. I know personally, the defense attorneys are doing behind the door deals with these judges, and these judges are lining their pockets. And we have got to start exposing these judges, which will bring these defense attorneys out into the open, which will start making them realize Americans are going to start keeping their eye on the judges and make sure that our justice system gets cleaned up. So these are just a few of the things that we are doing as Angel Families collectively. You can go to our website, angelfamilies.com. It's actually in the process right now of being revamped to a political action website. We are an LLC, so we can be 100% politically active. Angelmoms.com, that website will be up soon. That is our 501c3, and that's more of our compassionate website that we're going to have up that will tell the stories of what has happened to a lot of the families. But Angel Families is going to become a lot more politically active in the next year and a half, because we have to, because of the platform we've been given by our president. A couple other things I just want to talk about. We've got some wonderful patriots here who fight down at the border for us. Jennifer Harrison, who goes down to Yuma almost every weekend and has unbelievable footage of these people coming across our border. We've got Tim Foley with Arizona Border Recon. He puts cameras out on the drug trails. He deals mainly with getting this footage and making Americans aware of how many drugs are coming over the rugged terrain in southern Arizona. It's not where the human trafficking is happening. This is where the drugs are coming over our borders. And I mean, he's got on his footage armed cartel smuggling Middle Eastern men over our border. This is happening right here in our state, folks. So these are two great patriots that are here, and follow them on Facebook. Arizona Border Recon, Tim Foley and Jennifer Harrison with Patriot Arizona.
AZ Patriots.
AZ Patriots. Follow them on Facebook because you will be just shocked at what you see. The other thing that I just want to mention a couple statistics so that you guys know what's going on. 75% of our Border Patrol agents right now are babysitters. They're taking care of processing, transporting these illegals to the hospital, to the detention centers. 75% of our border protection, our border patrols, are not protecting our borders because of what these politicians have allowed to happen and keep our borders open. Right over the border in Mexico, you know, I've been pleading with President Trump to please designate the cartel a terrorist organization because they are. And they are chopping bodies apart, they're cutting heads off, they have vats of acid that they put the body parts in to erase all DNA evidence of the amount of people that they're killing down there. And they are burning bodies in ovens. Huge ovens, they are burning bodies in ovens down there, right across our border. And these people are now across our border. If you go down to McAllen, Texas, which I've been down there many times, everybody who lives down in that area and all along the border there, all the way to Laredo, there's huge enclaves of enormous homes, and the cartel are living in those enclaves of homes, and they are running money laundering businesses right there in Texas. It's happening right under our nose, and they cross over to Mexico and go do their dirty business, and you know, it's just sickening what our politicians have allowed to happen in our country. And having been personally affected like this, and doing the research that I do, you know, I have stated 4,300 plus Americans are killed every year by illegal aliens. And I was being very conservative with my numbers because in 2015, the Sheriff's Association talked about 25 Americans are killed a day by illegal aliens in our country. And we know that it's more than that because it's now 2019, and how many other criminals have come across our border at this point? So we're really looking at probably close to 9,500 Americans are killed every year by illegal aliens in our country. Think of how disgusted and how mind-boggling it was when 9/11 happened, folks. Almost 3,000 people were killed. It's triple that every year of your fellow Americans who are killed by illegal alien criminals in our country. Triple that. And nobody blinks an eye about it anymore. It's just, oh wow. You know, my son didn't deserve to die the way he did, and Grant surely didn't deserve to die the way that he did. None of these people who have been killed by illegal aliens deserve it. I just read a story yesterday where an illegal alien broke into an older lady's home down in Texas, and he kept stabbing her repeatedly. She begged for her life for 40 minutes as he continually stabbed her and kept finding more knives in the kitchen and stabbed her and stabbed her and stabbed her till she finally died. And then he went through her purse and took $560 and went down to the auto parts store and bought a new battery for his stolen truck from Phoenix, Arizona that he was in Texas, put a new battery in his truck, and then went back to her house and continued looking through her stuff and rifling through her belongings. This could have been your grandmother. This could have been your mother. And this is happening in Arizona. This is happening in every community across the United States. We have got to become more aware of American citizens. We've got to start, you know, go to our Facebook page, Angel Families on Facebook. I'm posting all the time on there, and I'm posting all the time at Angel Families on Twitter. If you're on Twitter, I'm posting all kinds of stories that are not on mainstream media because they don't want you to know the quantity of crimes that these illegal alien criminals are committing in our country. We have got to start the purge. We have got to make sure that these people are removed from our country, that we have a secure border, that we have increased interior enforcement, and that we end sanctuary policies and sanctuary cities and counties. We've got to fight, folks. We cannot let Tucson become a sanctuary city. We cannot let Flagstaff become a sanctuary city. And these are the fights that are going on right now. So stay in touch with us, get on our websites, and I have plenty of business cards if any of you want them that you can contact me directly if you've got questions about anything. One last thing, and then I'll hand it over to Steve. in September, Steve and I will be going to DC. We'll be doing a rally in Mesa, Arizona, probably about September 15th, somewhere around there. And that'll be our kickoff. And then we're going to be traveling all the way down the I-40 to DC, and we'll be doing rallies all along the way to bring our stories to Middle America. Because, you know, Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, they already know about all this. We want to get the stories to Middle America. So we're going to be doing rallies all along the way, and when we get to DC on September 25th, we're having a Badges and Angels rally with probably 1,000 sheriffs from across the United States. And we are going to bring more awareness to the need for a secure border, increased interior enforcement, and ending sanctuary policies in our country. We have teamed up with sheriffs in the past, and they are a great fit with us. We fight very hard to make sure that our communities enact the 287G program, and that is where law enforcement cooperates with ICE and contacts them when criminals will be released, illegal criminals, from our jails and our prison system. So this is a very important partnership that we've got going on, and there'll be more on our website and on our Facebook page and stuff about that in the future. But please see me afterwards if you'd like a card, because I'd love to stay in touch and meet all of you. Thank you.
Okay, everybody, here's Steve Ronnebeck, and he has another story that he'll be sharing with you. Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, everybody, for being here. Thanks for having me. January 22nd, 2015, my son Grant was working the overnight shift at the QT up on Stapley and Broadway. I know that there's a lot of you that probably remember it. Some of you may not have even heard about it. An illegal alien came in and wanted to buy cigarettes. Dumped a jar of change out on the counter. Grant went to start counting the change, and he wasn't counting fast enough. This man said, "What, you're not going to give me my cigarettes?" Grant says, "Hey, you know, I got to count your change." This man pulled a gun. Grant did everything he was supposed to do. He handed over the cigarettes. Here you go. As soon as Grant handed over the cigarettes, this man shot Grant point blank in the face, killing him instantly. He then walked around the counter at QT, stepped over Grant's body, grabbed a couple more packs of cigarettes, stepped back over Grant, turned around and looked at him, and just stood there and looked at him. He wanted to make sure he was dead, because if he wasn't, he was going to shoot him again. Later that day, we found out about this man. He was an illegal alien. He was brought here when he was 14. He was a dreamer. He qualified for Obama's Dreamer Act. 2.5 years before he killed Grant, him, his wife, and another man broke into a woman's home, held her captive naked for 10 days, sexually assaulting her for the whole 10 days, filling her full of heroin. Scared her so bad, she became an unreliable witness. He was able to take those crimes and plead it down to felony burglary. The man never did a day in prison, not one day. He was on probation for 2 years. And within 2 months of getting off of probation, he killed Grant. Grant was 21 years old. He had plans, he had dreams too. Mary Ann has been one of the greatest friends that I've ever had. I met her probably about 3 or 4 months after Grant was killed. And her and I have been fighting together ever since. And I'm going to expand on some of your statistics that she's given you. One of the first ones I'm going to give you is 245. That is the amount of people that overdose in Maricopa County every single month from heroin and fentanyl. There's another one, 70,000. That's how many Americans died last year from overdosing on heroin and fentanyl. 97% of all the drugs that are coming into the heroin and fentanyl that is coming into our country is coming across our southern border. 78% of that number comes right across the border here in Arizona. Okay, so you think about that. We have all these drugs coming into our country, killing our children, killing our young people. And most of it's coming right across the Arizona border. Right up through Pima County or Pinal County, right up through Maricopa County. You guys see all the news about they've taken this many drugs off the street, they've interdicted this amount of drugs at the border. What you don't see is what Tim sees. Tim sees the people that don't want to be caught. Tim sees the 14 people that were packed with 40-pound packs, is it? Yeah. About 40-pound packs. 14 people with 40-pound packs. We don't know what kind of drugs they were carrying.
It wasn't pot.
Okay, so 40-pound packs, 14 of them. More than likely it's heroin, meth, fentanyl. It's all heading our streets. People are dying every single day. And it's not just out-and-out murder like what Grant went through or what Marianne had to go through. You know, I'm sick and tired of it. I'm fed up. Because I'll give you another number. This year, guess what you and I are expected to pay to take care of these illegals coming across our border? Anybody want to guess? We're going to be close to $200 billion. $200 billion. We're going to be looking at over 1.5 million illegal immigrants coming across our southern border this year. $200 billion.
And how much did the president want for the wall?
Oh yeah, 55 million? 55 million dollars, or 55 billion.
5 billion?
Yeah.
5 billion.
Five.
Well, his original number was 55 billion, but
The
yes,
whole.
he asked for $5.2 billion, and they couldn't give it to him.
They're willing to spend $200 billion to support him.
Yeah.
Right.
They're averaging $67,000 per illegal immigrant per year, is what the government is giving them. Here you go. Free food, free medical, okay? Free everything. Now they want to let them vote. They want to give them driver's licenses. I don't know about you, but I'm not going to let them come stay at my house.
Neither are the liberals.
Yeah. California wants to be a sanctuary state, but yet they don't want them dropped off in California. How does that figure? I'm going to give you another statistic, and this is pretty horrendous. 1,483. Fiscal year 2014, the state of North Carolina had 1,483 sexual assaults against children.
Wow.
Committed by a little over 900 illegal aliens. These are our children, folks. Children. What more do we need to do? What more do we need to hear to say it's time to stop this? Marianne and I were down in McAllen, Texas 3-4 months ago, and we saw a group of 30 or 40 illegal immigrants, and are you Border Patrol? And then they're running off to find Border Patrol because they want to get caught, because they know they're going to get free stuff. We drive about another mile, and here, out of the bushes, comes another group of 30 or 40. They know they're going to get free stuff if they turn themselves in. We have to process them. All they have to do is say asylum, and we have to process them. We have to give them free stuff. What makes it worse is Marianne and a few others in the group had found one of their little camps underneath one of the bridges going over to Mexico. And underneath this bridge is littered with clothes, young girls' panties, Plan B, birth control, and it's just littered everywhere. 1 in 3 women is expected to get violated on her trip from another country to cross our border illegally. I'll give you this one. This one's actually going to blow your mind. 36,000. Last year alone, there were 36,000 Mexican citizens killed by cartel violence. 36,000 Mexican citizens. So does anybody want to take a guess how many people were killed due to the violence in Afghanistan? 22,000. So guess what that means? We'd be safer having Afghanistan as a border state than we are Mexico.
Wow.
Pretty sick. Right now there is over 15,000 registered missing children in Mexico, just the other side of the border. 15,000. So what's all over the news? All these immigrants bringing their children. They're not their children, folks. They proved it. It came out 2 days ago. At least a third of them have recycled these children. They've either been kidnapped, bought, to be used to get across the border. Now, the worst part of this, and this is this is pretty bad too. These children that they figure out, okay, this isn't your real parents. They go into our social services system, welfare system, child protective services. So they basically go into foster care, into a group home. The group home gets paid $83,000 a year per child to house that child. And then they get a bonus if they adopt them out. And the whole time is, they're not really trying to find this child's parents. They're not trying to find the child's parents in another country. They're just putting them in the welfare system, putting them into foster care, wishing them well, and most of them are ending up back in the sex trade because the foster care system is so broken. Illegal immigration is affecting our insurance. It's affecting your jobs. It's affecting your families. It's affecting your housing. It's affecting almost every aspect of your life in one way or the other. It's got to stop. I don't know what more to say to people. I need help. Marianne needs help. Tim needs help. Tim's group, Arizona Border Recon, is a 501c3. To continue doing what he does, he lives on donations, and trust me, he lives on very little. But I've seen this man go out for 5 to 10 days straight, and he'll hump 8 to 10 miles a day and close down that section of border because they don't want to come across while he's out there with his guys. Marianne and I do hours and days a month trying to get the word out of what's really going on in our country. The Democrats don't want you to hear it. The Democrats don't want you to realize that if they give these people IDs and driver's licenses, they're going to be able to vote. They don't want you to know that. They don't want you to know how much it's actually costing you out of your pocket every single year. They don't want you to know that. Marianne and I fight, Jennifer fights, Rich fights, because we want you to know. You can go to the Grant Ronnebeck Foundation, and there's statistics there. You can go to angelfamilies.com or Angel Moms, and you can see how many people are out there. Marianne and I together have probably met over 100 families that are in the same position that her and I are. Poor Tim. Tim went to Washington, was it a couple months ago? September? Okay, September last year. He went with Marianne, and he had to sit and listen to all the stories. Just like mine and just like Marianne's. Tim couldn't eat his dinner because it was just tragic what is happening to our citizens. It could be one of your friends, but sooner or later, and it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, and that's, I got that from Marianne, but it is a matter of when. It's just a matter of when it affects your family or somebody close to you. It's going to happen, and if we don't do something and we don't do something soon, we're not going to have a country to defend because it's going to be overrun. And if you think about it, over 1.5 million illegal aliens coming across this year, where are we going to house them? Who's going to pay? We are. Anyway, thank you so much. You guys have a great night.
Love you, Steve.
My name is what? Yeah. I've done this before.
Yeah, I just, you know.
My name is Tim Foley. I am the founder of an organization called Arizona Border Recon. Can you hear me?
Closer to your mouth.
Sorry, I'm used to chasing cartel. Karaoke. My name is Tim Foley. I started an organization back in 2010 called Arizona Border Recon. It's made up primarily of former military and law enforcement because we've taken an oath to defend our country to protect our country. And then when we get out, the oath doesn't end. It's a lifelong oath. Once you take it, it's there. I started the organization because I was tired of hearing the two narratives that media and the government were saying constantly back in 2008 and prior to that, which was, first one was, don't worry about it, they're just coming and taking jobs Americans won't do. Well, I'd spent 35 years in the construction trades. I used to build high-rises in Phoenix, and I worked my way up. And every Monday morning, we would do safety meetings with my foreman. And I'd ask them, how many guys are you missing? I'm missing 3, I'm missing 5. And when you're building a high-rise, you got a schedule to keep, and you start losing people. It's like, well, what happened to them? E-Verify caught them. 2 to 3 weeks later, the same guys would show up on the job, and I was going, well, what's this? And, oh, we just took a couple weeks off. We went out and bought a new ID, a new Social Security card, and it's going to take them another 3 months to catch us. So I was under the impression, like probably a lot of Americans, that E-Verify, once it found out you weren't allowed to be working in the country, that you would be deported. But basically, E-Verify says, you can't work here, but it's okay if you hang out here. And you can also go out and do some more identity theft so that you can work again until we catch you again. So then the 08 happened. The construction industry went to hell in a handbasket. And so I went from $85,000 a year to $12,000 a year overnight. And so I decided to go down to the border to see if the second narrative that I was being told constantly was true. And that one was, don't worry about it, it's safe and secure. When I got down there and saw what is our border, I said, you've got to be kidding me. Came back up to Phoenix, sold everything I owned, 3 Harley-Davidsons, a Harley-Davidson shop, my house, everything I could sell. Moved to the border and lived on that until I could cash out my pension. Been living on the pension since then. That's almost gone, and we started a 501. But a little bit about the Arizona border that most people don't know. Do you know that Arizona has 398 miles of border? 10% of that, 39 miles, a little under 40 miles, is what we call the media fence, which is the 13-foot high steel ballard fence. 39 miles out of almost 400 miles of Arizona border is that. 85% is a 4-strand barbed wire fence. And the other, 5%, 10%, there's nothing. I've been out down there on dope trails figuring out where they go, and I'm looking down going, why is Border Patrol not seeing all this sign on the ground here? And there is no fence. I walked 3/4 of a mile into Mexico because there is no fence. I had to turn and haul butt to get the heck out of there, but it's hanging wide open. The way our government is doing it now down there, it's never going to end. Because I classify this as a war, because it's going on 24/7. The government is trying to fight this war with a shift mentality, meaning 9 to 5, I'm out of here. I'll come back tomorrow and we'll see what happens. In my area, I'm basically on the Tucson-Nogales scene, between Tucson Station and Nogales Station. Tucson Station is tasked with securing 24.5 miles of border. They have 300 agents and they can't do it. Or they don't want to do it. It all depends. If you go higher up, they get bonuses by flipping numbers around. They have a motto. Arrests are up, it's working. Arrests are down, it's working. So the higher ups do not like my organization because one of my primary goals is to bring what's happening to the attention of American people and media. I've been doing media now for over 4 years. The sad part is 98 to 99% of all my media that I do is from Japan and Europe. They don't care here in this country. Less than 15% of the American population knows that there's actually something going on down at the border. Steve talked about me running into dope mules. That happens all the time. I've been down there for 10 years. And it is some of the most brutal, hostile terrain out there. The Arizona border, there's an 80-mile stretch. In my area, I'm sitting right smack dab in the middle of that 80-mile stretch. 40% of all the drugs that come into this country comes through that 80-mile stretch, which encompasses basically west of Nogales over to the west side of the Tono Odom Indian Reservation. You hear in the media that 90% of the dope is coming through the ports. Well, that's a spin. 90% of the drugs being caught are being caught at the ports. Because when you have over 3.5 million vehicles coming through a funnel, where they have dope sniffing dogs and they have x-ray machines, of course you're going to catch 90% of what's coming through. What they don't catch is what's coming through on the backs, through the mountains. Border Patrol estimates they might get 15% of the drugs coming through that 80-mile section. The drugs coming into this country are 40 to 50 billion dollar a year industry. So 40 to 50 billion dollars buys a lot of politicians and a lot of Border Patrol. It's estimated that 25% of Border Patrol is corrupt. Don't know how many in Congress are corrupt, but I know we have one over in Pima County, and he's probably enlisted. I don't know if he's enlisted. We affectionately call him the cartel's congressman, Raul Grijalva. He's also, his district is the Tono Odom Reservation. The Indian Reservation is being decimated, and nobody knows. The FBI keeps statistics on every ethnicity out there on missing persons except for one: Native Americans. So nobody knows how many Native American women and children have gone missing off that reservation because nobody keeps track. Tono Odom Reservation averages over 300 stolen vehicles recovered a year out of Tucson and Phoenix on the reservation. The reservation is huge. It's the size of Connecticut. So what my organization does, we're made up of former military and law enforcement. I've been down there for 10 years. I've walked over 2,000 miles of their dope trails. I've GPSed over 75 cartel scout locations on mountaintops inside of Arizona, not including the ones I know that are in Mexico, just south of the line. The humanitarians love to say that, you know, Border Patrol is forcing the poor migrants into the mountains, and so there's more deaths. Well, I have over 200 humanitarian water drops GPS just in my area. And if you look at a map, the flat valley, where it's easier for them to get through, there's only 3 water drops in 25 miles. Within 10 miles of 15 miles of the border in the mountains where I'm at, there's over 200. These humanitarians keep trying to say that it's women and children, but I have trail cameras out there all over the place. All I'm getting is bad guys and armed cartel. Like Steve and Marianne said, I've got film of 6 armed cartel escorting a Middle Eastern male to the border. I've got videos of cartel scouts coming off the mountaintops getting water from the humanitarian water drops. It's not what you're being told. It's not what the box on the wall is telling you. When I'm up here, it's like I live in 2 different universes. When I'm up here, the border doesn't exist. When I go back down to the border, this doesn't exist. It's 2 completely different worlds. And a lot of people don't know what's happening. Steve likes to throw out statistics. Here's one, 75,000. 75,000 acres of opium is now being grown in Mexico.
Wow.
Mexico is now the 3rd largest opium producer on the planet, behind Afghanistan and the Golden Triangle over in Laos. They figure within 1 to 2 years they will be the number 2 producer. When I first started my thing down on the border, we would see the dope mules with big burlap sacks with 20 kilos of marijuana coming through. In the past year and a half, I have not seen any of it. They're now running big camouflage packs. It's like Steve says, it's meth, it's fentanyl, it's heroin, and it's decimating this country. And there's a lot of people in this country that'll go, oh, well, you know, it's just drug addicts overdosing. It's not just drug addicts. They have mothers, they have fathers, they have brothers and sisters and kids. You know, part of the problem is the way our system is set up. With big pharma, if you go to a doctor, you gotta have boo-boo and they wanna give you Oxycontin. So they get them hooked on these opiates, and then when they yank it away from them, then they can turn around and start finding it on the streets. And so I'm no big fan of our medical system up here, but especially when, say, like California wants to give all illegals free medical, and I haven't had health insurance in over 10 years because I can't afford it. But my cardio going up and down the mountains keeps me healthy.
And the cigarettes.
So, if you want to see what we see, you can go to our YouTube channel, Arizona Border Recon. We're on Facebook. We post there. And what else? If you got Netflix, we have a documentary on Netflix. It's called Cartel Land. We were up for an Oscar, but we lost out to the Amy Winehouse story. So the guys who were trying to stop the drugs from coming in lost out to the lady who overdosed on the drugs.
Wow.
But that's Hollywood. I've been there for 10 years. I don't plan on going anywhere soon. I told myself there's only two ways I would ever leave there. One is if I felt that it was safe and secure enough, or I was dead.
Yeah,
And the
cartel
sad thing
land.
is, I think it's going to be the latter of the two. It's getting more violent down there. Right after I retrieved my camera with the armed cartel on it, and then I got more on the same camera over and over, I tried to give it to the Tucson station to let them know, hey, you got bad guys with heavy firepower in this area. They didn't want it. They said if it's down by the line, it's fine, because I said if it's there, it's further in. So less than 6 weeks after I tried to give them the video, last June, an agent was shot 4 times, 3 miles from my house,
Wow.
within 3 miles of where my camera was. And I tried to tell them. They didn't want it, so I sent it off to Department of Defense and to DHS. I was informed that the gentleman, the Middle Eastern man, was picked up 2 months later in Washington, D.C. He was a Syrian.
Wow.
And the couple of the other ones, they did facial recognition on them. They were high-level Sinaloa cartel. What a lot of people don't know is we think, from what we're seeing down there, is the MS-13 is getting ready to start their own cartel. Now, if you don't know who the MS-13 is, you've been sleeping way too long. MS-13 is the world's largest, most violent street gang on the planet. We're seeing more and more of their shrines out in the mountains. I have translators. They're picking up more and more Guatemalan accents on the radios. I've got intel coming from the south side saying they've taken over a town that's just west of us in Mexico. So things are really interesting down there. The area we're in is basically controlled by the Sinaloa cartel, which is warring within itself since El Chapo has been nabbed and brought to the United States. What happens is when they grab one of the top dogs, creates a huge power vacuum. So once that power vacuum hits, the death rates go up down there. We've sat on the mountaintops on the border right after that happened, and you could hear the 3 to 4 hour running gun battles on the south side almost every night. And there's an organization in Texas pushing west, and we think they will be the #1 cartel. Sinaloa is right now, size-wise. But they're being, because of their infighting, they're not watching their back, and you have the Jalisco cartel coming in from the east. They're already in New Mexico and the eastern part of Arizona. And Jalisco cartel was the ones, I don't know if you've heard about it, but about a year and a half ago, they shot a Mexican military helicopter out of the sky.
Wow.
These guys are not farting around.
Mm-hmm.
When you're looking at $40 to $50 billion a year industry, it's crazy. The human smuggling alone is $9 to $10 billion a year. Chinese coming into the country pay anywhere from $25,000 to $75,000 to get in here. I mean, I can go on and on for days and days, but I've taken enough of your time. If you want to know more, go to our website, go to our YouTube channel, look us up on Netflix. We're filming the second documentary right now. Should be done in another year or so, which is sad because it'll still be going on. And thank you.
Thank you. Tim Foley, guys. So we're at like a little private.
Thank you, everyone. Can we have another round of applause? What a powerful evening. It's amazing. seeing what is happening right under our own, just in our backyards, and right here, it's heartbreaking. There's so much that we can do, and I encourage each of us to go home and do some research, get online, see how we can help or support in any way that we see fit. And I think education